Hello again, everybody. I'm Ken Boxer, and this is Ken Boxer Live. We have a terrific show for you this half hour. A former guest of Around the Town Live. He's making another appearance. It's only been, he was telling me before the show, over 20 years ago. The former Santa Barbara City Council member, David Landecker. He's here, and I'm welcoming him to Ken Boxer Live.
Nice to be here, Ken. Thank you.
It's been that long?
It's probably been 24 years. That's the last time I ran for office was 1989, and I was in office till 91. I don't know, you might have done it sometime during then, but
I'm sure
it's been a while.
It's been a while, and it's been over 20-something years. Why the hell are you getting back into this race? The council, the election is in just I guess, really in November, just a few weeks, a couple of months from now. Why are you throwing your hat back into the ring? I don't get it.
Well, let's start with the election. The election actually is all vote by mail. So people start getting their ballots in early October, and they can vote them until November 5th, and that's the last day they have to be in the city to have their votes count. Why am I doing this? I guess it really comes down to my love for this city. You know, I stepped off the city council 22 years ago, shamed, in a really bad situation, but I realized then that I still wanted to continue to work for the city. And for the last 22 years, that's what I've done. I've been engaged in a zillion different committees. I've worked for 2 major nonprofits in the community. And I just concluded when I was asked that this would be a great thing to do again. And I really didn't plan it. It wasn't like when I left the Environmental Defense Center at the end of last year, I thought I was going to retire, and I thought I was going to go take a vacation, which I really deserved. I thought I was going to go have some fun. And the day after my retirement party, I got a telephone call asking me if I would run for city council. And I went, you're nuts. You know, who wants me to do that? You know, is there really a desire for me to do that? And 3 days later, Marty Bloom had written a letter to the editor of the paper saying David Landecker should run, and I got a call from the mayor saying I should run, and I got calls from all different people. And I started talking to friends, people like you who I've known for a long, long time, and people said, David, it's time. You know, after 22 years, people are done with that. We'll see. I hope it's true, but this is really what I want to be doing.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Because it's like the elephant in the room if we don't.
Okay.
Okay, because there's some people that don't know anything about it, and there's a lot of people that do. And we know that years ago, just to make it really short, you switched, if I could, you help me here, you switched a price tag.
Exactly.
And at a local
hardware store
in town.
Home Improvement Center.
Home Improvement Center. And you were embarrassed by it. Obviously, you said you were ashamed. But you resigned then. Do you regret resigning? Because now here it is, you're running. You're running again. Was it wrong to have resigned?
No. I really disappointed the whole community. I realized that. It took me a while to really understand that. You know, it was an amazing time. My supporters said I should stay. My detractors said I should leave. I divided the whole community. I divided the council. And it became clear to me that this is not why I got elected. I got elected to get things done and to prove that politicians didn't have to be crooks. And all of a sudden, here I was defending myself for having really disappointed the people who put me in this position. And that was not something I wanted to do, and so with my head down and my tail between my legs, I walked away. And honestly, I think at the time I thought, oh, this will be forgotten in a few years. But honestly, 22 years later, it is not only still remembered because I'm running for city council, but every time I put my head up in the community, it's still there. It's what I'm remembered for.
You became a verb.
I did, apparently. I've heard that since, you know, to be Landecker.
Landecker.
Yeah, right. And, you know, and that means to do something really stupid. And that's what it was. It was something really stupid that unfortunately human beings do those kinds of things once in a while.
But in your psyche, though, how has it changed today versus back then? I mean, you obviously just said you resigned, but today the issue still persists and you're still defending it.
Oh, I'm not. I can't defend it. I couldn't defend it back then. I can't defend it now. It was something I can't defend. All I'm saying is I have value. I have things I can give this community. I have continued to give them. And if people think that's valuable, if people think that that's more valuable than the scar that I've been carrying around for the last 22 years, then they should vote for me because I can do some things effectively. I mean, I've got this amazing background, I think, as a lawyer and a real estate guy and a businessman and a nonprofit executive. I've got a lot of skills and a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience to bring to the job. When people weigh one against the other, the offense, which was no question an offense, a stupid act, a bad thing to do 22 years ago, tips the scale so much that it doesn't matter what's on this side, then people need to vote for someone else.
But would you yourself vote for you?
Oh, in a minute.
No, but
I would.
I'm sorry, but let's put it another way. All things being equal, okay? Another candidate just like David Landecker, but the only difference, I mean, you both voted the same way on every issue, but the only difference is this particular candidate has the issue of having committed a crime versus the one who hasn't. Would you still vote for the other guy? And would you still vote for the person?
All I can say is everybody I talk to says, gosh, if my whole life for the last 22 years was on the front page of the newspaper, someone would find something. I don't know if that's true. What I know is that I learned a whole lot. I learned a lot about what people expect from their leaders. I learned a whole lot about myself, about my personal failures, about the fact that I was fallible, which I think back in those days I didn't quite believe. I learned a little bit about humility, although it's still not my strongest suit. And I come back with that. And you know, actually, in a lot of ways, I think I'm a stronger person. I know I'm a stronger person. I also know that I'm a handicapped person. And so some people will judge me based on that and will not be able to see anything else, and that's their right. Well, but I haven't seen very many of them knocking on doors. They haven't talked about it.
Well, how about the timing? I mean, the timing in the news now, you have your Spitzer and your Wiener, and you get kind of thrown in, like they kind of throw you in that picture like, hey, you know, maybe the timing is right.
Well,
this is the
maybe,
right, I mean,
maybe we're at a place where people see the humanity of politicians and the fact that they have failures and weaknesses just like anyone else, and sometimes they get exposed and sometimes they don't. But I certainly didn't do this around them. I guarantee you that. It happens to be, I'm 61 years old. I have been fairly successful in my life. I decided it was time for me to retire from my life as a nonprofit executive, and I was going to go away and be done with it. And I was asked to come back and do this, and I'm excited by it.
Well, David,
and I get to be here.
I know.
What could be better?
And I got to tell you, to be in the hot seat, I really appreciate your coming, because it's not easy to defend yourself in what had happened 20 some years ago. And I could ask really pointed and directed questions. You came here with an open attitude and being able to answer anything I throw at you, and I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
It's really sincere.
Let's talk about the other issues.
We will, but we're going to do that right when we get back. We're going to go to a break right now, and we'll be back with David Landecker, who is the candidate for City Council in this next election coming in November. So don't you dare turn that dial.
Located minutes from the beaches and nestled under palm trees, there is a place for the community to come together to connect, collaborate, and create media. A center for content creators, providing access to media technology to tell stories, share ideas, and create television shows, independent films, and documentaries. TV Santa Barbara welcomes everyone, regardless of your level of experience. We provide extensive, hands-on training in media technology and communication. Select from courses designed to help you create your own video programming or learn how to connect with more people through social media. TV Santa Barbara's Community Media Center is your hub for learning and using media to connect and communicate. We are pushing the envelope in local community programming on TVSB voice and culture. Whether you want to produce your own television show, be on camera or behind the camera, direct a live show, or learn how to edit, there's an opportunity for you to get involved. Our professional staff will help you learn how to use our equipment, production studios, and media lab. It has never been easier. Call, email, or stop by our media center today to find out how you can become a part of TV Santa Barbara. TVSB, where no experience is necessary, but creativity is always welcome.
And welcome back. You're watching Ken Boxer Live. Our guest this half hour, if you're just joining us, is political candidate, city council candidate, that is David Landecker. David, before the break, I was saying I'm so happy that you're here and you're answering all these questions, but let's now focus a little bit about, you were on the council over 20 years ago, but the issues really haven't changed. Santa Barbara's, has it changed that much, or is it the issues haven't changed, or what's going on?
Well, a little bit of all of those. Santa Barbara has changed some, but not very much, and the issues certainly haven't changed. It's kind of funny when I think about it, because, you know, what are the big issues? Housing. When I came to Santa Barbara in 1980, the first thing I got involved in was the mayor's housing task force. And the issues were people saying the price of housing is too expensive, my kids can't live here. How do we build more housing to make it affordable? I've been involved in housing issues for the last 33 years, and they've stayed pretty much the same. The issue is homeless on State Street. You will remember we built Paseo Nuevo because Lower State Street, which is where they still are, had too many homeless people, and they wanted to redevelop that area, which was called Blighted. And so we built this area that is now bars and restaurants and very fancy, but the homeless haven't disappeared. They weren't called the homeless back in those days. We called them the names that we don't use anymore. But we've still got an issue with people hanging out on the streets, and what do we do about that, and how do we resolve that?
I'm curious, how do we? Do you have an answer?
How do we? Well, I think we've got to realize that when we talk about homeless people, it's a big category for a whole lot of different issues. And every one of those people has a story and an issue, and if we pretend that you just dump them together as homeless, you're not going to resolve the issue. I mean, number one, we got to figure out how one by one we deal with it, but at least we have to take them into those who have mental health problems, those who are temporarily down on their luck, who have lost their jobs, who have had some medical problem, and then those who are what we call the travelers, what we used to call hobos, people who, they're younger now, but people who are just hanging out because they don't have anything else to be doing, and it's easier if you're going to hang out on the streets somewhere, why not Santa Barbara? And right now, I think the biggest problem is those people who used to kind of hang out in the shadows behind buildings have gotten aggressive and are out on our streets and are panhandling. And that's a problem. It's an issue for our, when I knock on doors in the city, I would say the biggest issue people talk about is, I don't like going to State Street anymore. And that's not a good thing. The problem is the courts have basically said that panhandling is a right of free speech. You can ask for money, you can't stop them from doing that. And there's a right of assembly, so they can assemble there as much as anyone else. And in the great wisdom of our city, we've removed all the benches from all the areas around State Street where they used to congregate, so now they stand in the middle of the sidewalk. It's a problem. Yes, there are some things that can be done, but I'll take a long time to go through that.
You've been called an environmentalist.
I am.
And a businessman.
I am both of those things.
And you're connected to both the environmentalists and the business community. That's a tightrope. It's very hard to walk sometimes.
Well, that used to be the case. Back in the old days, there is something that's changed. Back in the old days, it was the Chamber of Commerce versus the environmentalists. Today, I think the community has really learned that the business of Santa Barbara is its environment. The reason that people come here as tourists, the reason that people come here as retirees, the reason the students come here and we get the great teachers who win the Nobel Prizes is because of the beauty of this place and because of our incredible environment. If we lose that, we lose the goose that lays the golden eggs. We lose Santa Barbara. So first and foremost, we've got to keep our environment. And that's both the the natural environment that is around us in all directions, but also the human environment within the city, the beauty of our city, the safety that people like to feel in our city, the security that people feel in our city, which is challenged a little by the homeless on the streets. And so those are something we have to really look at.
What do you say to people who say that they feel like they're being taxed to death? That our council now is really pretty much a tax and spend council now.
I think that's really not entirely true. I think that there are a lot of taxes because there are a lot of things that we do. But the amazing thing to me is that we're not even funding the things that are most basic to government. Making sure that our roads stay in good shape, making sure that our sewer systems and our water systems and all of our infrastructure is funded not just for the coming year, but for the coming generation, is something we've got to be doing. It's not cheap. We also have all of these entitlements. Now, they're not at the city level, but they're really expensive. I spent 6.5 years being executive director of the neighborhood clinics. Providing health care for people is really expensive stuff. And we do it as a society. And I think it's important, but it's costly. There are a lot of things that we do as a society that are costly. And for the haves, the people who are lucky enough to be doing well and making money and owning a restaurant or whatever it is, owning a business, which I did for 15 years, yeah, they get taxed, and it costs.
It hurts.
Well, it hurts, but in the grand scheme of things, Kenny, you're doing okay.
Hey, would there ever be a tax you wouldn't like?
Oh, there are loads of taxes I don't like.
There
are lots of taxes. Sales taxes, generally, all right? So we just had the state increase the sales tax by 2 cents on a temporary basis, supposedly. The city talks about potentially having a sales tax as well. That's the most regressive tax because it costs just as much for people who aren't making money as people who are. I don't want to increase sales taxes.
Would you like to just see a consumption tax? Flat tax that they talk about?
No, I have problems with that as well. I think that's also regressive. Personally, I think Prop 13 did some really good things when, in terms of individuals, making sure that the taxes on our homes didn't go up to the point where people had to move out of their homes because they couldn't pay the taxes on a regular basis, stabilizing that. But when I'm a commercial landowner. I own a bunch of commercial property in Santa Barbara. The fact is that my rents go up by the cost of living every month. My taxes don't. My taxes have stayed pretty much the same since I bought my property in the 80s. I don't think that's reasonable. I make more money every year, and I think I should pay a little more for it.
Yeah, but nobody's stopping you from paying it. You can.
I can make it charitable. Yes, I could.
Yeah, you can.
And even this crazy liberal guy, when it comes to social programs, doesn't write any more taxes than he has to. I pay my taxes, but no more than I'm supposed to.
But nobody's going to stop you.
You're absolutely right.
All right, we got to stop right now and go to another break.
Okay, let's go.
Let's do that. We'll be back with David Landecker right after this brief timeout.
Located minutes from the beaches and nestled under palm trees, there is a place for the community to come together to connect, collaborate, and create media. A center for content creators, providing access to media technology to tell stories, share ideas, and create television shows, independent films, and documentaries. TV Santa Barbara welcomes everyone, regardless of your level of experience. We provide extensive, hands-on training in media technology and communication. Select from courses designed to help you create your own video programming or learn how to connect with more people through social media. TV Santa Barbara's Community Media Center is your hub for learning and using media to connect and communicate. We are pushing the envelope in local community programming on TVSB voice and culture. Whether you want to produce your own television show, be on camera or behind the camera, direct a live show, or learn how to edit, there's an opportunity for you to get involved. Our professional staff will help you learn how to use our equipment, production studios, and media lab. It has never been easier. Call, email, or stop by our media center today to find out how you can become a part of TV Santa Barbara. TVSB, where no experience is necessary, but creativity is always welcome.
And welcome back. We're continuing our conversation with David Landecker. David, the actual election is happening in just a few weeks. Between now and then, what are you doing?
Well, you know, it's amazing how much work goes in between when you start this process. I started very late. I started in May, but a lot of people started at the end of last year. And when it officially kicks off, which is Labor Day, and Labor Day is coming up as we record this, probably will be in the past by the time some people see it. Between Labor Day and the election, which is October, November, people are really paying attention. They begin to try to decide who they're going to vote for. So that's when we go to what's called retail politics, from trying to lay it all out and getting your endorsements and raising the money and doing all of those things to just making contact with people.
Let me stop you right there. You've made a lot of money.
I have raised a fair money. I've raised a lot of endorsements. I'm very proud of that. I've raised the most of any of the challengers, and I've gotten the endorsements of almost every public official on the South.
Oh my God, the phone is ringing again. Could it be the mayor again trying to get on the show? Let's see. This is Ken. It is your friend, Mayor Schneider. Do you know who is on our show tonight? No, David Landecker. No, you cannot get on this program. David has this entire 30 minutes time slot. What do you mean now that David's on, you're not going to endorse him? No. Is the mayor endorsing you?
She has endorsed me. She's the one who convinced me to run.
Okay, we're going to find out a little bit more about this. Thank you. Just gave us our next lead for the next question. Keep trying. Bye. That's the mayor. Keep trying. Tell us, the mayor has endorsed you.
The mayor has endorsed me, our state senator, our state assembly person, our 1st and 3rd district supervisors, and a whole lot of other people.
Why? Why are they endorsing you? What's going on?
Well, I think for the same reason that Helene asked me to run, which is that I've got a background in a lot of the issues that are facing us. You know, I've been around for 33 years being engaged in every bit of this community, but I've also done the social service work, being executive director of the clinics. I've done the environmental work, being executive director of the Environmental Defense Center. I've done the planning work, being on the Citizens Planning Association board. I've done work on offshore oil on a volunteer basis. I've done work on air quality. I mean, you take the issues in this community, I've been engaged in them. And for the mayor, who really wants to get some stuff done in the next 4 years, she only has 4 more years to leave her impact here. Rather than training a new councilman, a council person, and starting from scratch, she gets to have an ally who knows a fair amount about what's going on in the community from day one, knows a fair amount about community organizing, knows a fair amount about who's who in this community, gets invited to the Ken Boxer show after all.
Maybe. But is there anything
She doesn't even get on this show.
She doesn't. Is there anything that you both differ on?
Oh yeah, we differ.
What
For
issues?
example, the gang injunction right now. Now, you know, maybe if I'd been around 3 years ago when this whole thing started, I would have gone along with what they did, although I would have done it very differently. The problem is they approached this in a way that I think was the wrong way to go. And at this point, 3 years later, we've spent lots of money, and we don't even, most of the defendants aren't even out in the community anymore. And by the time we finish the trial and everything else, it'll be even fewer people. It's a lot of money chasing after a problem that there are better ways to solve. We could take a lot of time on that issue, but I'm going to leave it at that for now.
What do you think the #1 issue facing Santa Barbara would be?
Well, there are 2 big ones, neither of which is sexy. One is money, is how do we pay for the infrastructure? How do we pay for the pension commitments that our predecessors have made? That's a really big issue. I don't want to see Santa Barbara end up where Detroit is. And that's going to take some serious work to really figure out where the money is going to come from, and at changing some things perhaps at the state level to make it work. The other one is our general plan. We spent 8 years creating a new general plan for the community. We've got this great document full of wonderful concepts of what we want to do. But now we got to do it. Now we've got to actually put it in place. And that's not very exciting, sexy stuff, but it's got to get done for the general plan to have any meaning, for all the money and all the time and effort that was spent on it to be worthwhile. You know, there are issues like homelessness. There are issues like rental housing that are really important to me. But I think the big ones are those that are going to happen without people even really noticing it to some extent, but they require leadership and knowledge that I think I can add to.
What's the most difficult part when you were as a council member? You got a giggle.
I did. Well, it's just, you know, the most difficult part for me is sometimes the meetings on Tuesdays, which is what everyone thinks is the only thing you do. And those are, you know, you've already thought through every issue, worked through, you've talked to most of the people that come up on to talk to you. Just staying awake, that's not quite true, but staying interested, staying engaged through that hearing, which sometimes is pretty boring because you've already heard the whole thing. It's like replaying, it's like going to a movie you saw last night again. That to me is sometimes the most difficult part of it.
What about you were saying it before the show that, you know, that sometimes you're too serious. And being a city councilman, seriousness is part of the game, I would take it. But the lighter side of David, what is it we don't see when you're not on camera, when you're not in the public eye? What are you doing behind, you know, at home? And what do you like to do in recreation? What's your fun and games?
Well, my biggest fun and games, well, there are two. I play a lot of tennis. I'm a very serious skier. So I go out and powder ski. I'm a helicopter skier. I've been a double black diamond skier for many years. This will be my 58th year on skis. So that's one of my real loves. And if I disappear during some winter meetings, that might be where I am. You know, I'm a pretty serious guy. I work hard at home sometimes too. I like to play cards to relax.
Heard any jokes lately?
You know, you don't want me to go there because I'm really bad at delivering a joke.
You were great delivering everything that you gave us tonight. I was so appreciative that you came and joined us and told us about David Landecker, and we appreciate your honesty and openness.
Well, I thank you so much for inviting me, Ken. I'm so happy to see you back on the air.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you, and everyone else is appreciating your being here too. Well, that's it for another edition of Ken Boxer Live. I was just about to say Around the Town Live. I'm so used to saying that. Our guest this half hour, David Landecker. The election is on November 5th. It's by mail-in. You better mail in your ballot by that time. So for everybody, my director and my crew, we'll say good evening. We hope we'll see you next week. Good night, everybody.